Hello there guys, and welcome to video 57. This one is on changing the subject of the formula. The keywords here are subject and formula. So subject, when we talk about changing the subject of the formula, we're talking about making the letter on its own on one side of the formula and all the rest of the stuff on the other side of the formula. And a formula is something that you can substitute into and find stuff out about something. Right, there's lots and lots of different formulas in the world, and very useful things they are too. They have equal symbols, they have unknowns, they have variables in them on both sides. So the aim is to make the letter stated in the question the subject, so on its own on one side of the formula and all the rest of the stuff on the other. Use the exact same method as you would to solve equations. Good news, we're very good at those by now, I would hope, if you've watched all the rest of my videos. If you haven't, please go back and watch them in detail and practice. So number one, it says make P the subject of each formula. So all we'd have to do in this one is one step. It's like a one-step equation, right? But this is a formula because this isn't a number. This is a letter instead. So all we can do is divide both sides by by 3. Rhymes, but it's not the same thing. So I'm going to do the same thing, right? Just going to write in my work in this time. Got P and then equals. Now how do I write y divided by 3? Well, I could do it two ways. I could write y divided by 3, or I could write y over 3. That's my preferred way of doing it. I like doing it like that. So I'm going to put that as my answer. And that's pretty simple, isn't it? Right, getting rid of that. Doing b is going to be slightly different. This time we've got p, and p's been divided by 5. And to get y, so if we make p the subject of that formula, all we have to do to get rid of the divided by 5, you guessed it, inverse operation, multiply by 5. So we multiply that by 5. And that gives us P, which is now on its own, is now the subject of the formula. And y multiplied by 5 is just 5y. That's the only way we can write that. It's not the only way, but it's the preferred way of us writing that. So P is equal to 5y. You would get away with writing P equals y multiplied by 5, but don't, because we don't write the multiplication symbol in the world of algebra, as you well know. Now C, we've got 2p plus 4 equals y. Just a two-step equation, except it's not an equation. So we're going to take away the 4 from both sides. Let's just write down minus 4 and minus 4. Now 2p will be what we've got left on that side, and y minus 4 is written as y minus 4. That's it. Just got to divide by 2. So divide both sides by 2, and we get p is equal to y minus 4, all divided by 2. Okay, I've squeezed it in there, but I'll write it nicer here. P equals y minus 4 all over 2. Alright, I hope that is easy for you to understand, and if it isn't, please go back and watch the solving equation videos, because they will help you. Now in question 2, we've got to make m the subject of the formula in each case. That means get rid of everything that's happened to m and make stuff happen to the other letter or letters or things that have gone on the other side. It's just m cubed is equal to z. How do you get rid of a cubing? Well, the opposite thing, or the inverse thing to cubing m is cube rooting it. So we're going to cube root both sides. That leaves us with m on its own and then the cube root of z. Okay, and that's all you've got to do there. So I didn't really need to write it there. I could have just written it straight away in the answer space. Not that difficult if you know what the opposite of cubing something is. This one, 2 steps here. Alright, we've got the square root of m plus 5 equals z. Just put lines down either side for this one. Now, the thing that we can get rid of first there is this plus 5. And we'll do that. Always think of the opposite order of operations when we're doing anything like this. So, yeah, go backwards with order of operations because we're undoing stuff, aren't we? So, that's going to be take away 5 from both sides. So, z, I'll just write it in as well. Z minus 5 is z minus 5. And the square root of m is what we've got left on that side. Now, how do we get rid of the square root? We have to square both sides. So square, square. Can't really do a little 2, wouldn't make any sense. All right, square both sides. That leaves us with m is equal to, well, this term needs to be squared. So we pop that in brackets and we square it. Okay, can't just say squared, just can't just say squared and leave it at that, because it would be just one thing. It's that whole thing has got to be squared. Okay, so there we go, z minus 5 squared. We could multiply out those brackets and get a quadratic, but we don't need to. All right, so we're just going to go m is equal to, and then z minus 5 all squared. Okay, now looking at the next one, getting rid of this. Here we go. What have we got? We've got a, big A, could stand for anything, area or something, is half multiplied by m multiplied by x. Okay, so I prefer to write this as all of this over 2, so that would be mx over 2, right? Because I think that's just easier to think about. Don't have to, but 2 then multiplies by a, so you've got 2a is equal to mx, and then we want m as the subject. We could get x as the subject, but we want m, so we're going to go and divide by x. So it's going to be 2a divided by x is equal to m. And then we write it as m equals 2a over x. And that's it. So it's not too taxing, as you can tell. I am not sweating. Right, moving myself over. What I'm looking at there is the worded one. So the formula for the volume of a cylinder is V equals pi r squared h, which is useful. Not for calculating anything right now, but it's useful to know. Rearrange to make the radius the subject. So the radius is represented by the little letter r, as you probably guessed. And all you got to do is make that little r the formula, subject to the formula. So we've got to get rid of everything else that is next to it. So we've got the v standing for the volume, pi is just a number, r is the radius, and then we're squaring that, and then h is the height. All right, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about this formula. But I'll go into more detail when we come to volume of things, prisms. And yeah, let's rearrange it. So v equals pi r squared h. What do we need to get rid of? We need to get rid of this pi and this h, right? And they're all multiplied together. And what we can do is we can lump the h next to the pi, and we can divide by both those things, okay? Because they are multiplied by pi h. We're going to divide by both those things. So that's going to be v over pi h equals r squared. And then one thing left to do is undo this squaring. So we're going to square root both sides. Now it's not just the v or the pi h, it's the whole thing. So the square root of the whole thing, as long as you show that, is equal to r. We have found what r is on its own. We have rearranged to make r the subject. So r, just write it out again for you, square root of the whole thing, v over pi h, or h pi, doesn't matter which way around you write that, because it's just a number next to pi. Again, another one that I hope makes sense for you. More complicated questions, please like, subscribe, and try the linked resources in the description section. Yeah, do something nice for someone today. Why not? Just out the blue. Nice little altruistic act. Why not? Let's try and spread some love. All right. Be good. Take care. Bye-bye.